Hey, it's Navid here, and in this session, we'll dive into the future of the creator economy in the age of AI. We'll talk about how to boost your productivity with AI, how to do personalized storytelling, and even how to grow on X, formerly Twitter. We'll give you some great strategies for this and how to use AI in the process. And I'm really excited to be joined by Gianina Skarlett, or as many call her, simply Gigi. She's the CEO at Crypto Tech Women. She's a Venezuelan founder. She's a lead engineer, and she has a Web3 community centric brand that has empowered over 20,000 community members worldwide to take space in Web3. She's really passionate about education, innovation, and the Web3 industry. And something that I found really cool is that Gigi was a software engineer at an AI Silicon Valley company previous to joining the Web3 industry. So she has a lot of experience as an early employee, and now she's basically educating people in the Web3 industry and also talking a lot about AI. Her story is really inspiring, and I'm really excited to dive in here. So without further ado, let's get into the session. Warm welcome to the session, Gigi.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this one, and I'm also quite inspired of your mission. You want to bring more women and minorities into tech because when I was researching speakers for this series, AI for Creators, it's a little difficult to find inspiring women doing great things in this space. And I was like, I find you, I found some other people as well. I thought I did a great job, but when you're looking at conferences or even podcasts in the space, it's not that many women that's featured actually. I was trying
Yeah.
my best to do that. So continue what you're doing. That's really great. And I think for the people who are not familiar who you are, or if you want to introduce yourself, what's your path into this world in AI and Web3?
Yeah. So I have the standard intro, but a little bit about me is I'm from Venezuela. Love saying that I'm Latina always first. I'm a software engineer by devotion and passion. I used to work in an AI startup that focuses on using AI to fix solutions within the customer service space. So it's called Forethought, amazing company. So I've been doing that since 2018, 2019. And I have an extensive background in a lot of jobs, but I would say my focus has been engineering, being a creator. And then I came into Web3 as I was a software engineer, building things on the side, creating smart contracts. I started building a community for women and minorities that had entered Web3 and didn't know where to find education about what were these digital collectibles, these NFTs, and trying to also build a community for them to meet each other, find jobs. And that turned into an NFT project itself, which we ended up launching and selling out 8,888
Yeah.
NFTs last year.
That's awesome. And I think when I did some research for this, I think it was because you had a lot of utility to this as well, because it was right when, wasn't it when you entered the bear market a little bit? I remember I lost out on some project as well, not in the NFT, but in crypto as well. And it was like right around there when you launched it.
Yeah, I started building it in August 2021. And I was just hesitant to launch it. And then exactly the day that I decided to launch over six, I think 4 or 5 months of building this community, 6 months, February was exactly when the same day as the war started. So definitely some great timing there. But
Yeah, they
the mission
kept you
never
because of
changed.
the utility.
Yeah,
Because I checked your, was that the thing that you had for your learning platform and things like that? Was that tied to that? That's interesting for the creators on in this audience.
Yeah, so my focus, because I'm very much a nerd, my focus with this NFT or this digital collectible is that it would be tied to real utility. And that for me is workshops, is master classes. So I built a platform where you can use your digital collectible and to prove that you have ownership and you get free access to this master classes. And we also do monthly workshops. So that's the utility of holding this digital collectible that's part of this community.
And did you, before you launched that, did you see other people in the education space doing similar things? Because I haven't seen too many people tying education to NFTs in this way that you're doing it.
Not really. The reason that came about is because I was already creating content on Instagram while
Mm.
as I was a software engineer for my previous company. And when I saw this opportunity in Web3 and I joined, I've been buying tokens since 2017. But when I saw this new evolution of digital ownership, I noticed that a lot of people were participating in this space, but had no idea, one, how to get a job, two, what was actually happening, what they were buying. And I just saw an opportunity to come in and bring education, which I think is the most important aspect on whatever industry you go in. You need to have someone that can help educate and teach you how can you get a job. And regardless if you're looking for one, I think it's for new industries, that's 100% it.
What was the training that you offered in this platform? I think it's called the W3. Basically, that's your learning
Yes.
platform. I think when I checked it out, it's the V3 Learning Academy or something like that.
W3 Learn Academy. And because we have an audience that is mixed from traditional tech to non-tech jobs, people with non-tech thing as their previous background, and we have everything. We have from how can you launch NFTs to how can you learn coding to be able to launch a contract, teaching about the market. So the topics varies, and so far it's been workshop and masterclass based. But moving forward, there will be some cohort structures that are going to be a way to put everything together and take you from 0 to 100 within just one field. We haven't announced the topics yet, but you can
Yeah.
expect to have some coding, traditional Web 2 AI, and some Web
I see.
3 to it.
No, when I saw the website a little while ago, I think you had a lot of deals or perks, as you call it, right? And I thought that was pretty cool. I'm doing that myself for some of my programs and even for the bundle after the summit as well. We are like hustling to get deals. I think would be interesting because that's a great way to enhance the value of whatever you offer, right? So you had a lot of you have Stripe
And
on
I
there. You had
and
a
I
lot of
totally forgot. You
you,
mentioned that and I was like, "Oh, I totally forgot we do that." Yeah, we also have the perks
yeah,
page where you can get
yeah.
discounts, you can get free credits because we have such an audience of entrepreneurs, builders, creators we wanted to offer. It just makes sense, right? If you can find discounts for your audience and give them some value, that's such a
And
low
how did you get some of these? Like, I mean, this is really selfish. I know what I'm doing for my discounts and stuff. I mean, I'm hustling a lot, but like Stripe was pretty impressive. I know they do that for some other. I've seen that they offer like 50,000 without credit card fees, basically. And how did you hustle to get something like that?
I have to be really honest, it's the power of networking, which I talk
Yeah.
about it a lot. That led me to a company that decided they wanted to support us by basically they are middlemen who does all the work and we get the credit. So shout out to Rodeo Money is her name.
That's awesome. That's great. For myself, doing summits like this, always connecting with different people, I think that can lead to many opportunities, right? I'm sure, I don't know how it was when you started, Gigi, but you probably didn't know too many people in the space. You're probably quite alone on your journey. And even as a woman, you probably didn't see too many women in the space either. So how was that like when you got into this?
Yeah, for both sides of being a creator on in Web 2 and Web 3, I have obviously my personal platform and I used to do a lot of traveling because if you're shout out to engineers, if you're an engineer, you make enough money to just travel and you have so much flexibility. So I had traveling platform already for my personal and I decided I'm going to come into a space and talk about tech. With an Instagram, it was a lot of networking with other creators and it's going to be the same both sides, Web 2 and Web 3. Creating content that aligns to what is your overall goal. For me on Web 2, Instagram was about tech in general. When I came into Web 3, it was about very specifically Web 3 technology, decentralized technology. Creating content that aligns with that, finding other creators that are creating content with that, engaging with them, following them, sending a DM, a direct message. And that happens to in real life. I'm someone who I love to go to meetups. If I go somewhere, I love to connect with the people there. I never ask for the number. We exchange social media, but the power of networking is something that is so underrated.
No, totally. I want to get into a little bit on the AI side, what you learned in your past company and also how you're applying that currently as a creator as well. But maybe you can share some lessons that you learned because you're an early employee basically at this startup and you can share a little bit of that journey and what that led to and what you learned.
That was a very just random journey. I had graduated from my software engineering boot camp, got recruited by this company in Silicon Valley called Forethought. And that was really my first entry into learning more about machine learning and AI. I'm in tech. I hear a lot of people have so much of a negative view around artificial intelligence, right? And especially outside of tech, people that know less about the tech will have even a more negative connotation. They think it's going to replace jobs. And for me, working at that company, and I was the first female engineer. I was also like the eighth or seventh employee. So very early. By the time I left, we were over 200. So also a lot of growth within those years. But my main learning there was we are building products that use artificial intelligence, right? And they use NLP, natural language processing, and we're building models, which, by the way, back then you had to actually build models. There weren't all of the sites that help you do it so easily now. So, with this tech that we're building, we're enhancing customer service agents. So that was our first product. And actually, that's how Forethought won TechCrunch Disrupt back in, I think, 2018 or 2019. It was, we built a product that would enhance customer service agents, right? So you have the power of all of the data of your company right on your fingertips. And that was like, hey, this technology it's not only about replacing, it's also about enhancing. And as the company developed, our products developed, right? And as the technology developed, and we started creating products that could help identify things and help move the company forward in a way that's seamless. Besides from enhancing agents with basic queries or basic questions, we started building things that I think there's a lot of power in being a human, right? And if you can have tech that can help remove those stupid tasks, those things that literally only take time from you. So you can focus on what really is important and the real hard skilled type of jobs. So that's what we started doing. Anything that would be very simple to answer, the AI could do it. And then that led to agents being able to focus on more harder tasks and harder type of cases. And that's how I see AI is AI can really help you elevate you, especially if you're a solopreneur, you're a creator, you don't have a team. You can do now what a whole team can do
Yeah.
with just AI.
No, I say the same thing. Like, I think just a few years ago, you needed maybe a team of 5 or 10 to do the same as you can do basically alone now. I mean, we can get into a little bit how you're using AI, but just personally, I might record this stuff because I'm enjoying this. This is kind of my main content, but I always hated writing these YouTube descriptions or doing the tags and stuff. Now AI can do a lot of this or summarize this, or I can take this to just throw it out there in a Twitter thread or whatever I want to do. So I'm a lot of this content is going to go out there because when I did my previous, series of summits and things like that, AI wasn't really a thing, at least not available. So it's as easily accessible as now. So let's get into a little bit how you are leveraging this. I know you are very big on Twitter. You're, doing the spaces all the time. You're on Instagram as well. But in your day to day, how are you leveraging AI to grow your creator business?
Yes. In my day to day, I will start by saying I'm an AI maxi. Have always been. Ever, it's
Yeah.
I've seen it enhance so many lives. So for me, it starts from even how I time block. I use a product that basically tracks what I do on my phone and on my computer. You can set parameters to it to let it know, hey, these are the hours that I'm expected to work. It starts learning what are the softwares I use, what are the programs, what are the websites. You can start classifying them and it will classify them immediately by what it thinks based on the job that you inputted and based on the things that you said you do. What it thinks that is focus work versus non-focus work. And that is just like my base start. I use this product. It helps me understand how I may be losing time, how I could be doing better. It automatically focuses my time. It blocks out websites. And that one's called Rescue Time. Just in case you guys
Okay,
want to know.
rescue time is this interesting. That's been around for a long time, right? Do they have now more AI into this as well? Okay, that's really
Yes.
interesting. Okay,
And we will
interesting.
see this with most products out there, right? If they want to remain relevant and if they want to remain competitive, you have to start finding ways to include features that can help your user not have to do all the work, right? Like before, you had to go classify everything yourself, you had to do everything yourself. Now they start helping you, and you get to obviously make sure that it's right because, especially in the beginning, AI may not be 100% accurate ever, but it's about those baby steps. So that's one way that helps me with understanding how I'm using my time and how can I be better. I use Avola, and Avola also has a lot of features now. I'm thinking between like the plugins that you can use, right? And I have like Zapier. I think everyone who's a curator uses Zapier. And for me, one of the things I do is for my company, we have forms where people input, or we have like, yeah, forms that people input. Hey, I want to do a partnership with you. This is something I would like to teach. And I've built connectors that basically once a form gets in, it gets turned into a task. And then that task may be added into my Google Calendar for me to review. So obviously, as you keep going, you start elevating how specific you want your systems to be. But I think without systems, you are never going to be successful as an entrepreneur or as a creator, as a business owner, because the power of being a solopreneur, or even if you have a business, is creating systems in place that can help support you and whoever else is working with you, and create structure around you.
Yeah, I love this because
Oh,
I see I see also all these tools that you mentioned, tools that are, been around for a long time. They're adding AI into this. Canva is a great example. There's HubSpot, there's a lot of different email marketing tools, and even like what we are using now to record this, they have some AI features, right? So you can switch kind of when I'm speaking, it's like recognizing this, and then when you're speaking, it's recognizing that you're speaking, so it's switching basically. And also they have
yeah.
something magic clips, kind of similar to Opus Pro or Opus Clip, so you can actually turn this into short form content as well. So there's a lot of things like that I see across the board. I mean, that's kind of what you mentioned with this, and the automation piece is interesting. Is that kind of how you kind of that's where you start? That's kind of where you're getting the most out of this, would you say, for automating a lot of things that otherwise would take more time for you and your team?
Honestly, I was gonna say as a creator, yes, I use Opus, I use Descript, which now I was talking to a friend, he recorded a podcast with a very big political figure. And I'm not gonna expose him because I know he'll talk about this eventually on his account. But basically he recorded the whole interview looking at his screen because he didn't really think about it. And later, when he was going to post the interview, he asked his community, is it weird that I'm looking at the screen and not like at the camera? So it doesn't seem like I'm looking at the person.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, it's actually really weird. So they found out that now Descript, who again is a company that's been out there for a long time, now they have a beta feature where you can recenter your eyes to
Yes.
look at the camera post production, right? Because there are a lot of companies that do this while you produce or while you're recording.
Yeah.
And little things like that, right? As a creator, if you're reading off a script, if you maybe someone who you want to look at the person on the camera, being able to use this type of tools, I use Opus because whenever I do a podcast, yes, obviously, if you have the funds, if you have people that you like, I would still say go and hire someone that can do an amazing job. If you are starting or you love the products that are out there, you can use something like Opus, get that formatted. They use AI in the back end. They will tell you which ones have, a greater chance of success or which ones are like the best ones based on the context. And I personally love using all of those type of products as a creator. I think automation is definitely number one thing, especially if you're traveling, if you're busy, if you're trying to do a lot of things. And I would say just do it, even if you're not. And you can do so much more by automating what you have. But I use AI throughout it all. I use it from automation to task delegation, to understanding my time, to refining my messages, right? I write long format tweets for X or posts for X, and I just write. I just write and then I put it through ChatGPT, and I've built my own custom prompts that I think work
Mm.
best for me, because that's another thing. When you use products like ChatGPT that might not be specifically tailored for an industry, because you have kind of like copy AI, right? And you have Jasper and you have products that, while they might still integrate with ChatGPT as a company or OpenAI, you are not sending the same prompts as the ones that you're sending. They refine their prompts to make sure that it works for the specific use cases that they tell you. But now, when you use a product, not a wrapper like OpenAI, and you already in your own prompt say, make this into a caption, it's not really going to work. And it goes into prompt engineering and becoming a really good connoisseur of what are the prompts that work best for you. So I use it for my own refinement. I use it for brainstorming. I do you mentioned Twitter spaces, X spaces that are like podcasts. I talk about everything that I expect to talk about. Who are the people that are on it with me? What are their focus? Who is my audience? And I help the model create questions for me. And I think there's like a new job that will, or I don't think, I'm 100% sure there's a new job that is being born right now, which is a person that can refine post production what comes out, right? You put yourself in ChatGPT on whatever thing that you're using. And when it comes out, understanding how to refine and verify that it's correct is an editor skill.
Yeah, I mean, I use a lot of the tools you mentioned as well, like for the Descript. I mean, that's my best friend for doing this series. I have a lot of sessions I'm doing, and this is so cool. Also with the studio sound, if a guest doesn't have the best microphone or something like that, I can like enhance their audio and their voice to sound like a podcast, which is really amazing. And with the eye feature, although sometimes it can be creepy if it's not like 100%, but it's in beta. I'm sure that's gonna get a lot better moving forward. But I do want to get into a little bit more with what you're doing on X, because I think that's pretty cool. You have the spaces, you're also writing, as you said, quite in-depth posts on there. So what's your process in terms of leveraging AI? You said you have you refine the model in ChatGPT and things like that to work for your brand. Can you give some recommendations for someone else how they can do the same thing?
Yeah. So some recommendations on this is understand what is your brand. And if you don't know what is your brand and who you are as a creator, that is the first step, right? So basically, how I think about using ChatGPT, because I really use it raw more than using wrappers that may already be enhanced, just because I like to control my what I'm doing. I don't know. I'm not saying those products are not good. My friends actually love using wrapper products. For me, as of now, I just I'm a control freak, so I just love controlling what it does. And I build a brain around it, right? And I am subscribed to premium. I use the model on GPT-4. I do think there's a big change when you get to use the model. That's GPT-4, and you get to use extensions. There's so many extensions that you
And
can
the
use.
GPTs now, Gigi, have you? I'm sure you have played around with this. Actually, what's gonna happen? I believe with plugins, I think a lot of them are gonna be phased out, and they're actually turning them into GPTs. I saw like Canva. I saw another one. I was using
Yes.
Keymate. There's a lot of them just becoming.
All of them. I use CapCut for all of my videos, and now you can even have CapCut plugin within ChatGPT, and it helps you create a video. There's so much potential, right? And
Yeah.
so for me, the way that I do is I build within different chats, I build brains. And maybe one chat will be focused around helping me think about tools. So I do, if you see my content, I love talking about tools. And yes, you could think about each tool. You can go to each page, read it, then come up with your bullet points, or you can have a prompt that helps you list tools and list three features, right? And I kind of just use that chat for those type of posts where I post, hey, what are the tools that can help you with productivity or with editing your videos or creating photos? Then I have another one that is about my company. who we are, who is our audience, what is our goal with our audience. Um, and I just go into really deep detail without having it have too much detail. I think a prompt that's over 2,000 characters, you're just going to confuse the model. So being specific, being concise. I know a lot of my friends love doing act as you are a, and I do that a lot. Hey, you are, and I'm not going to say companies because I also do events. So I'll be like, act as you're an event planner from X company because that company I think aligns with the type of events we do. And you're a senior, and you kind of just play with it. You give it a role, you give it your specifics, what you need out of it. And if you have ChatGPT Premium, I do use Prompt Perfect to help perfect the prompt. And from there, whatever you get back, obviously you have to edit. It's never going to be 100% perfect. And if you are doing research, I would highly suggest verifying that the model itself didn't hallucinate and gave you information that's not even real.
Yeah, I've had so many people. I had the Amar Avadallah. I was speaking to him. He's from the CEO and founder of Vectara. His model is hallucinating less, and that's why that's kind of what they are known for. And it's like talking a lot about it. You have to give the model or the AI very specific instructions, right? It's like when you're bringing on an intern on your team. It's not that person is not gonna know exactly how to write a blog post or how to do certain things. You have to actually give clear instructions and go back and forth a little bit. I believe it's the same with the AI. I feel even when you say take a deep breath, sometimes to ChatGPT, it actually does a better job. Or even if you are kind with it, I don't know. Have you found this as well when you're speaking to it, like actually talking to the AI as a human?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a very polite person, so it's funny
Yeah.
because my prompts will be like, "Please do this,"
Yeah.
and I don't know, it's just who I am. But even for when you're doing, as an example, for me, I do my long form tweets or my threads. And English is not my first language, right? I speak Spanish. Spanish is my first language. I speak Italian. I speak English. And at times I would say my grammar may be off. So I make sure to run it through ChatGPT. And at times it might change your phrases. So there's times that I just want to show who I am, my personality, my way of speaking. And I say only fix grammar mistakes. Don't change anything. And I don't care how the sentence sounds because I also think you have to be authentic with your audience.
100%. I think that's what I see when I'm checking out your Twitter or X now. It's basically you love sharing stories from time to time. Sometimes you share practical tips, but you also inject your story into that. What would you say for a creator who want to get started on X, if that's their platform they wanna focus on? I think they when I started out of 10, I think like 10 years ago, X was a spam fest. It was not great. I think that has gotten a lot better. Same with LinkedIn actually has gotten a lot better. So do you have any tips for these people to get started? I know you do a lot of spaces. I know you do your posts. Anything that's working right now that you would recommend?
Yeah, so I actually for Web3, I ended up deleting my previous web to Twitter and starting from scratch. So I'm a big believer of starting from scratch and finding a new audience, and then after you find your brand market fit with it, then bringing in your existing audience. So my previous Instagram audience haven't even brought them into X. So I decided I want to build my own audience here, get them to like what I do, and later on, if my other audience wants to join me, great. I think what really helped me, and I had a slow start because I was focused on my other Twitter as well, which was for my brand. So I grew that one to like 23,000 followers within 6 months, I think. And eventually I realized that there was a shift in X and the shift, or at least in crypto X. And the shift was that as there were so many negative things happening and so many companies leaving and quote unquote rugging or frauding their community, people stopped caring so much about the brand and started caring more about the person behind the brand. And for me, during this whole time over a year, I was focused on the brand and I had not given any love to my personal profile. People associated the brand with me, but my personal was kind of left out. I wasn't including it into even I started hosting X Spaces back in December 2021. And I hadn't included my account within those spaces because I was so focused on the brand. So, but after this big shift happened, I decided to start growing my personal brand again and using it more. And some of the things that really helped is definitely going back into hosting. Eventually, I moved the X spaces I hosted from the brand's page to my personal page. And there's been so much growth in that. And speaking on spaces is a hack. It's literally a hack. And obviously, you have to choose what spaces are relative to your niche and your expertise because you can join hundreds of spaces. But if you're not adding real value when you speak or giving good questions that, the speakers may want to follow you because you set them up so well, or people in the audience got so much value out of your question, it doesn't really work the same. So for me, focusing on spaces where I can give good takes, good questions, the audience that there is someone who would probably like to follow me based on my content is a crazy way to grow. And you can grow over 100 followers in one day by focusing on this technique. And that's something that has helped me a lot. I would speak on like 15 spaces a week. And you don't have to do it all day. You just have to be strategic with it. And I built a calendar with which were the recurrent spaces. What were they times? And I would just pencil my time in there to go in there, listen to the conversation, raise my hand, give a take or give a
Is that how it
question.
works? So it's like a kind of like Clubhouse. I mean, I don't know if you were on there. I wasn't really
Yeah.
active on there, but I set up an account and I jumped into a few. It's kind of very similar. So you raise your hand, is audio only, right? And you just kind of come in to listen. And can anyone raise their hand to speak?
So no, so you have to request to speak.
Okay.
And the bad side of X Spaces right now is that the amount of speakers is limited, I think, to 10. So there can only be 10 at the time. So you have to request up. The host, co-host may bring you in. I always say follow the host, follow the co-host, engage with them, right? Like be noticed and support them. So when they see you coming into their space, they feel like they know you, they want to bring you up on the stage. You give your take and then you go back to listener mode. So you have to be kind of allowed into the stage.
Okay. So you have to
But
kind
once
of
you're on the
build.
stage,
Yeah,
you
you need
can
to
raise
build
your
that
hand.
relationship. It kind of goes back to the relationship building a little bit because if they don't know you, why would they let you on there? I mean, it's kind of like a random stranger, or does that happen that sometimes you go into a space that you don't know them too well, or have you always built the connection?
No, and I've done both, but for me, the way that I do it is whatever space I'm trying to speak on, I will always follow the host. Or if they have a show, meaning that they do this together, then I'll follow both or the three of them because you can have two co-hosts. But it also depends on your content. I have I host pretty big spaces where sometimes I may have 10,000 after like during the entire duration. I may have three, I may have two. And I don't know the whole, sometimes it's like 56 speakers is what I like to bring on and rotate the space. And I may not know all of them. And I think it's good to not know all of them. I don't want to create an echo chamber with my own audience. I want to get to have new
Yeah.
people, discover new ideas. But something I check before I let you up, one is if you follow me. If you don't follow me, it's okay. I will look into who you are. And if your content, if I see your content, I'm like, well, I have really great content and it aligns with our topic, or you produce good content, that is, again, automatically a bias about, well, let me bring this person up because they are creating good content. I like their bio. Enhancing bios is something we talk about a lot. If someone goes into your profile, your cover photo, what it says, your profile should be kind of like a dead giveaway of who you are and what do you speak about and what can I expect if I follow you. So I think
Yeah,
all
I
of
think
those
yours is
things
really
play into
clear.
it.
If they check you out, I mean, if they check you, Gigi, you have always like Venezuelan founder, you have like that you're in tech and things like that. And I think it's just what you want to convey to other people when they find you, right?
Yeah, and if you see my cover photo, it literally says I talk about
Mhm.
AI creators and Web3.
Right.
That's it. And that's really what I talk about. It's kind of setting yourself up for someone to not have to go through and look through your entire profile to understand if they want to follow you. And I break it to you, most people will not look through your entire profile. They will look at your bio and decide within less than 5 seconds if they're going to follow you or not. So it's really important to enhance that, truly. Because Instagram has an advantage in a way, and it's that it's visual. You have photos, you have your feed. X is a lot of disorganized thoughts, or you may introduce media here and there. But yeah, within those first 5 seconds is really when people decide, and maybe it could be 3, if they're going to follow you or not. So enhancing your bio, because when I go into a new speaker that I've never seen and I think about letting them up, I look at their bio and at their pinned post. That's it.
That's awesome. And it's interesting you started from scratch, because I wasn't really active on Twitter for a long time, or X. I wasn't active there. And I mean, if someone would, it's basically you getting put in this black box, right? You haven't done anything in a long time. It's the same with YouTube sometimes. Maybe you have some videos that did really well, and then you're coming back to posting, and then you don't get views for a while. You need to kind of earn that respect from the platform, kind of. And so I don't know what you would recommend. Do you recommend actually starting from scratch if you haven't have done that, or do you recommend just kind of start posting? I mean, it's kind of similar audience to what I would have before.
Yeah, and I think that's the key as well, is understanding who was the audience that you used to have, what are you going to be talking about, and for obviously you already have an existing account with a good amount of followers, and you feel, hey, I think my previous followers might still care about this. Then go ahead and start posting. Just understands the pros and the cons. I think with a new account, you might seem like a bud within the first few months. People might not follow you because you're new. You don't have 1,000 followers, right? And then you really have to focus on having really good content and hyper growing your account real fast with good content, joining spaces, posting spaces. I think on Instagram, you kind of have a hack where you can do collaborations with other accounts. On X, we no longer even have the cold tweet feature, which I used to like. And yeah, it's a balance of understanding if you're going into a whole new industry and you want to kind of start from scratch. And I think most people will say, don't do it. Don't start from scratch.
Yeah.
I think it's a balance, because you may have accounts that have 100,000 followers, but most of their following is dormant because they don't care about what they're posting. Right. And you have to continue to acquire new audience. And you
It's
see
more if
those that,
they're dead, right? I mean, the thing is like the following, maybe you have some good followers on there, but maybe some of them are dead, so to speak. They are not like engaging. Maybe they cared about what you had before, but maybe they are not using the platform. So of course they're not gonna engage. So that's kind of put you a little bit in a bad circle. I think you always need to keep growing. You need to do some of the things you shared, right? Go on spaces, start engaging. I guess commenting and stuff like that works extremely well on these platforms. Maybe using some, I don't know if you use some tools for this even. I have seen like Hype Fury or Typefully, and there's some specific tools for X. I don't know if you use any
yes,
of these tools or you post everything manually.
I have to be honest, I don't believe in the reply guide strategy, which is really big on X right now, right? Like people are saying, you go and you comment within the first 1 minute to 5 minutes when a huge account posts, and you go really fast, and you either use, there's a bunch of plugins that you can use to create like an artificial response with ChatGPT that reads the main tweet and it creates one, or it's a funny one and you post a meme. And I think you are going to be sucked into this vacuum of chasing the engagement and chasing the views. And all of that time you could have used to jump on a space. And I'll tell you, I have a lot of recurring speakers that come on my space and they say, hey, within my take, I might get up to like 45 followers at times. So imagine how powerful it is. And as a host, I was talking to a friend recently. He says his minimum is 50 followers. And as a host, I can tell you, I host for 1, 2, 3. I even host for like 4 hours sometimes.
Oh my
And
gosh, that's crazy.
but it for me, it's fun. For me, it's like I'm giving value and I'm talking to my
That's
friends
good.
and I have fun with it. But I had Grant Cardone on my space like a month ago. And that was a 4 hour space. And I think I got like 600 or 700 followers from just
Yeah.
hosting. The co host will get about half. So imagine, so just to show, you could be replying all day long and not get anyone to follow you because a lot of big accounts are not saying, wow, this is a great reply. Let me follow you back. It's going to take a lot versus joining the spaces, engaging with speakers, creating those networks, and honestly growing way faster.
I think this might be something for me. I like things like this anyway. I do things like this naturally. I like connect with people. So I think these new things with X is really exciting. I think that you can grow in this way because I wanted to touch a little bit how you're generating the leads, I guess, for what it is that you're selling, like monetizing this audience. What have you found work well? I know you had with your kind of the bridge between Web3 and then the education, but I don't know, like now in the bear market, I guess, or maybe it's going up a little bit now for sure. But before, how are you generating leads for your business to make sales?
So the way that I think about it is that it doesn't really matter the market. It matters the value that you are giving the person, right? And if you're able to find that audience that matches with your offering, you will have an evergreen type of business. So let's think about it as a creator. You're a creator. Let's say you focus on growth, and my friends laughed. They're like, you focus on Web3 and growth. So you're a growth guru. That's not really my niche. Is more like that's what I think gives the most value to those that follow me, right? Because they are creators or entrepreneurs. So let's say you focus on growth and maybe you have a course that's going to come. Maybe you're selling yourself as a consultant. What makes sense is that you're going to build content that attracts that audience. And I was talking about this with a different friend who built like a 1 year automated type of calendar that helps you post and helps you brainstorm subjects. And she was saying, hey, what I do with my calendar is that Tuesday, I focus on freebies or things that are upcoming. And then Thursday, I post about what is it that I'm selling. So understanding that one, people need to see what you're selling to see it. Posting it one time is not something that's going to really get to most of your following because of how the content is served by the algorithm. Also understanding that if you post about it every day, it's no one's gonna want to buy it. No one's gonna buy it. It's gonna be too in their face. It's gonna seem spammy. So having that balance of being able to provide value, whether that is through your long form tweets, through your threads, through your newsletter. Newsletters are big. If you're a creator, you don't have a newsletter, I have no idea what you're doing, right?
I was gonna say that because that's the best way to make sales. Like social media is like for build the engagement, build that trust with the following. I think in a lot of ways, and also with your newsletter, of course. But I think still to this day, I mean, I come from more of a marketing background, and then I love creating things like this. But for sure, like I have interviewed like tons of experts on this topic of email marketing and list building. It's still what converts the best when it comes to promoting your products and services. So I'm curious to know like how are you getting people really onto that email list? Because as you said, you cannot promote every time like, hey, here's my link, here's my link. That would be spammy. But how are you doing that to actually get them on there? And then when they are on your list, actually make more sales for your products and whatever it is that you offer.
Yeah, so I have a few strategies, and currently I've been mainly focusing on the newsletter for my business, and I'm going to within this next few weeks you're going to see a new funnel to get onto my own personal newsletter on my personal page. But the way that I've been focusing on it with my business has been with the same strategy that I'll use for myself, which is providing a freebie, right? So I know people that probably want to buy an NFT or want to learn about buying an NFT. They may not know. My audience is people that don't really know what is Web3, right? Because I'm an educational type of community. So I built a 31-day path to Web3 that takes you from zero to really understanding the technology and why blockchain and, kind of it's up to you to decide if you want to get into this or not. But I built a whole sequence of free newsletters. Super valuable, no flaws. It's just right there for you. And that was completely free. And the exchange is you give me your email, you get added to this newsletter. That's free. Then we also made that into a PDF, right? And you say, hey, if anyone wants to get this free ebook, just same thing. Give me your email, and I will give you this free ebook. So that
What was
obviously
the ebook? What was the ebook about?
it was the same thing. It
So
was
same,
just
same like the
same
course.
thing.
Okay.
It was just for people that don't want to open their email every
Okay.
day and they might just
Smart.
want to read it at once.
Love that.
So thinking about also how to repurpose your own content, right, is really important because one email newsletter, you can make that into an ebook, you can make that into a video series. You have so much potential into repurposing. And that's another thing that I've actually seen a lot of AI products now also help you do within repurposing your tweet into LinkedIn long format blog posts and
Do you
vice
know any
versa.
tools for this? Like
I
that's
have a
I love
tool.
the tools.
I have a tool, but I need to think about the name. So I have a whole notes thing with all of
Okay.
the tools that I like. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna share the tool with you.
Yeah.
But
That's
there is this tool. And there's also tools for enhancing your bio, by the way. Like all of the things I've talked about, there are tools out there. And I love using top tool that .com or .ai, I think, because they have all the tools that you can find. They have a search bar and you can go and filter within what you want to search for.
yeah.
But yeah, so for the newsletter, I focus on giving a free product, giving a good freebie, and then within the newsletter, at the end, I have a resource of the week. And I basically go and find resources that I think are good based on creators that I follow, searching on Gumroad, maybe a YouTube video that I saw. Wow, this actually is really good value. And instead of redoing it myself, I want to platform other creators as well. So I add that on the resource of the week. I talk about why it fits with my audience. I know who my audience is. So I'm not going to go recommend the game. I'm not going to go recommend anything that is not literally a pillar for that audience and it's free. So then when I promote my newsletter, I also say, hey, by the way, we have this free resource that is amazing, but you can only get it by being on the newsletter. If you are not on the newsletter yet, this is where you sign up, right? So I think giving something within your newsletter that's really high value, that the people that don't want to sign up to get a freebie and don't want the other newsletter, and they just really want to get that really high value piece, that's a really good way. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, it all comes back to giving free value, right? You are asking for something, a pretty hefty price. You're asking for their attention. And attention is the most expensive thing that someone can give you. So it has to be an equal exchange of value, I think.
Yeah, I love that because you have this course like 31 days to learning about NFTs, right? I mean, that's so much value, or the ebook. I think it's smart to do that actually. Do you use AI to craft all this? There's a lot of content, by the way. It's like might be overwhelming for someone to start with like 31 days, but I usually recommend stuff like that when it comes to email marketing and list building. Like you can start with doing an email course, can be like a few days. Doesn't need to be 31 days, but it can be maybe
Yeah.
maybe 5 to 7 days at least. You can start there, and then you can build on that. Because when they're coming onto your list, if they don't getting anything afterwards, they're gonna like, what happened with this now? You need to have some form of consistency. But I'm just interested to know if you're leveraging AI to create this content in some way, or do you like in terms of the writing, copywriting, and things? How much AI is in that?
So I will tell you, the first one I did had no AI. So I actually hired a copywriter who focused on crypto, and he was the one who did it. So I hired someone. But moving forward, I've been working on content, and I actually kind of created a step-by-step guide that I use to build my ebooks and think about the content within it. And for me, it's very much a mix of, yes, I'm using AI to help copyright, to help ITA, to help me understand how can I structure this in a way that makes sense. And the other 50% is really using my expertise because yes, maybe you're a creator who you just want AI to do it all for you. And that is okay if that's what you want to do and that's how you want to do it. For me, I think there's a lot of value on my authentic expertise and knowledge and what I know, right? So I focus on, hey, this is all of the things I want to talk about. help me structure this into a sequence of X amount of newsletters or into an ebook and help me think about the way that I want to break this down and the information that I should focus on for an audience that likes X, Y, and Z. So I definitely now really use AI to help me understand how can I give the most value to my audience really with what I want to give them.
I think what's interesting in the age of AI and now with generative AI everywhere, I think people are just spamming the web with more information. I think that's why it's so refreshing that you're saying that you're using AI as kind of to amplify you, not to replace you in terms of what content you're putting out there. I think that's kind of risky, right? If you're creating your courses completely with AI, that's not you. That's not your thought leadership. That's not your experience. And I think to be someone trustworthy online or something you want to put your name behind, you need to actually put the thought leadership and experience there. I think the AI can just get you that far, but I think what I would say personally, I would take maybe an email I've written, or maybe I like a post. Maybe I see, okay, Gigi is doing this on X, is working really well. I say, okay, the structure, the AI is really good at breaking down structure, and then I can rewrite it in my way, basically, or Justin Welsh on LinkedIn or someone like that. I might take something he's doing and then break it down, or something I've done before for my email marketing, converted really well, and then I go into ChatGPT and tell, okay, I want something similar. For that, it works. But then is my experience also. I'm just adding that in. So I don't know if that's something you have thought of when it comes to AI, like the challenging. There's a lot of pros, but it's also like the negative components of this.
Yeah, and so this was like last year or 2 years ago. I found someone, and I don't remember their name, but they created kind of a structure of this is how you can do it manually, how we can evaluate your posts by impression, by comments, by likes, by every single thing. And then from that, this is my manual process because this was pre ChatGPT. They're like, this is my manual process on brainstorming three different type of content, and maybe one is visual, maybe one is written, maybe one is video. And then last year, I think it was Alex Finn, or some of you may know him as NFT God if you are in X in any way. And then he helped me understand how I can do this with AI as well, right? With the code generator, which I think now has a different name on ChatGPT. And now you can do it on Grok whenever you get access to Grok on X as well. But basically is creating all of your content or downloading it, putting it into a spreadsheet and seeing the impressions, likes, comments. You can do engagement rate if you want. You can go as deep as you want with it, retweets, bookmarks, and then having ChatGPT or whenever you get access to Grok analyze your content to see what were your top trending type of posts, right? And then you really get to understand your audience in a deeper level because you might think that your audience is creators. You might think that your audience is entrepreneurs or coders or founders. But when the AI analyzes your content, that might not be your audience. And you might be focusing on the wrong type of audience. And it can also help you understand what is the content you should focus more and even how to repurpose your own content. So I think that is definitely a very important aspect of leveling up as a creator.
That's so interesting. I saw when the GPTs were announced, I saw the guy from Superhuman newsletter, the AI newsletter, basically one of the largest ones. He created a GPT. I think it was was on X. He was doing that to kind of get his data, to get kind of the best times to post and all this. He kind of did exactly what you said. He fed the data into that, and then he got some great responses. I don't know exactly how it worked, but he just had a screenshot. He got a lot of engagement from this, basically, when he did it. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of potential to basically amplify yourself because maybe you wouldn't check this otherwise. I don't know about you. Do you use any analytics tools other than what's natively built into X, for example? Do you have anything else that you check on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, I mean, I would say sadly, X's analytics tools have been broken for so long. They're honestly kind of sadly unreliable. I think now they're getting revamped, but I've used Metricool and my memory's terrible, but there is one website that I use that I can basically see how many followers I got per day. And you can compare that to the type of content that you did, impressions. I have to think of the name of the website because I basically just have things bookmarked and I just go from
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
But I do use a lot of outside tools outside of X to evaluate how is my content doing. When am I getting most of follows or most follows and impressions? And then you can kind of, it just gives you a really good, deeper look into your content and what actually works. And I will tell you one thing, any day that I'm hosting spaces is the day that I grow the most,
Yeah, I can
that I'm
imagine.
hosting or speaking on spaces.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it sounds like it's a great strategy for anyone who wants to get into X and start building relationships as well. But I have a question around what your number one piece of advice would be for creators to get into this world with AI and start implementing this in their business.
Okay, so I think the biggest advice that I have is time block. Obviously, I'm an extremist, so I'm like time block 5 hours in one day over the weekend, the day that you're free, and just really take the time. Or you can time block, throughout the weeks and whatever works for you. But my biggest piece of advice is build your own CRM into what are your pain points, what are the things that are taking you the most to do? What are the things you enjoy doing? Kind of really understand who you are, what's your business, and be really honest about this, right? So then from there, the second step is looking into tools that can help you with that, right? So your biggest pain points, maybe you don't have a consistent way of posting. You post one day at 1, the next day at 5. Maybe your audience wants you to post at 7 a.m. That happened to me in Pacific time zone. That was the best time for me to post. And I didn't always want it to be up at 7 a.m., right? So finding what are your pain points so you can find programs that can help you with those. So whether that is editing your videos, that's one of the things I procrastinate the most. But if you find an app that can help you edit that automatically, right? Now you're taking away like 5 hours of your day that you didn't want it to do. And now you can do it in 15 minutes, right? So list your pain points, your struggles, your needs, the things that take you the longest to do. That might not be a pain point, but it will end up being one.
Were
Then
you all? I just wanted to ask one thing around this. Were you because you mentioned some like time tools and things like that. Were you always productive even before kind of the AI and things came into play? Were you always like really picky with your time and how you plan your day and things like that?
I'm a software engineer, so I can tell you I'm a very programmatic,
Yeah,
systematic
can
person. I
imagine.
like time blocking. I like order, and AI can help you do that. And I also will say on the other side, as much as I like this and as much as it's part of who I am as a person, I also have ADHD. So by default, my brain is programmed to procrastinate and to not have a sense of urgency. Right. So it's really a miracle that I can be this way. And I think the tools that we have in nowadays can help you even more. So whether you have ADHD or you just love to procrastinate, building a system again is number one way. So list pain points, find programs that can help you with those, and take whether that is a Saturday or a Sunday in the beginning of the month or three or like 1 week before the month ends to then start batching what you're doing. Batching has been like a hack into higher productivity and actually getting things done. And use your calendar. Block that time. Sunday at 1 p.m., I'm going to work on all the content that I'm going to brainstorm topics on. Then on this day, I'm actually going to go and create content for 5 days. And eventually you just get better. But I will also say focus on atomic habits, doing small things with compounding effect. Because saying that you're going to take 5 hours in one day for someone who is not used to even blocking 30 minutes, you're most likely not going to do anything within those 5 hours and you will be on social media. But saying that you'll take 1 hour, give yourself some self of urgency, and maybe that day you only create content for 3 days. But then the next time you do it, you keep adding a little bit more. You add one more day, you add 30 more minutes. Maybe you're using the Pomodoro technique and you're actually using like Homo focus to focus yourself within 25-minute time blocks or 45 and giving yourself that 10-minute break and sticking to it. But Yeah, I think anyone who is not using AI will definitely be left behind, whether you're working for a company or whether you're building your own company. It doesn't matter what intersection you're on. People that use AI will get more done than those that neglect it.
Yeah, 100%. And you mentioned video there a little bit. I'm not sure. Are you planning to do more long form content as well, like for YouTube, or is that something you have consider as you're kind of branching out and building on other platforms?
So I used to do YouTube videos about coding, and I have my YouTube. And I'll tell you this, obviously, I love coding. So for me, coding is my one true first love forever. And it's the thing that gives me the most passion and the most happiness, as weird as it may sound. And I would record videos. And once you start editing videos, you learn how you can really hate what you're doing really quick. This was before there were any AI tools. And it would take me 5 hours. I was terrible to edit a 40-minute video. Oh my God, it was so bad. And I stopped doing it completely. And now I've integrated it within, like I said, I do Atomic Habits. I'll go to the gym, I'll record it, and I integrate that into my content. So the people that follow me, they know I do bring in more of my personal take into things. One is my humor. I have terrible humor, but my friends like it somehow. And two is gym. I love working out. I love eating healthy. And I make that part of my content too. And I think it just gives people a more personal look into who I am. And I'm very honest with it too. Sometimes I'm like, hey, I'm slacking. And on my spaces every Wednesday, I'm always like, it's gym time. And my audience loves it because it really feels like you're building more of a personal connection. But editing those videos at times is one thing that makes me procrastinate the most. Like I'm very honest with myself and using CapCut and being able to just upload some of the videos and the AI deciding what is the best part of that video, which usually is wrong, but it really does save you so much time.
Does it do that for long form content as well? I know of CapCut, but I haven't used it too much for like longer form content, but I'd be interested to try it out.
Yeah, so I've been doing vlogs for travels that I do that are related to my industry. And I'll record 30 minutes, 1 hour of content because I'm just going out and then I use it and I compress it there. And I'll do, out of all that content, I may bring it down. I usually try to do under 3 minutes, but I'm actually editing a cookie tasting vlog that I did. And that one was so long. And I think it'll be like 5 minutes, but I'm just using CapCut. I like that it has already music, that it's not copyrighted, that you can use. It has transitions. But again, something I really hate doing, which is editing video, finding a product that helps you like supercharge your editing process is really important. And I am focusing on creating more video content. I'm trying to help myself during holiday time is when I travel the most. So I'm trying to create a structure that works when traveling because my structure works when I'm at home. When you're traveling, you really have to be really intentional about your time, even more than when you're home. So currently trying to focus on that so I can bring in more video content. When I host spaces, sometimes we do live stream as well. And finding ways to repurpose that is really important to me. And also doing talks like this where you record it and then later on you get to
Yeah.
make it into long form tweet, video posts, Instagram, TikTok,
Yeah, I mean, this
YouTube.
can turn into like 100 plus short form content, it's pretty exciting, I love it. I think that's great. And I would say the same when I have my structure day, like when I'm at home or when I'm not traveling as much is a lot easier. So I'm been doing this live stuff for 10 years where I travel a lot and it's more challenging when you are on the road, but you need to just find that structure so you can keep staying consistent with whatever you are doing, I think. So 100%. But I think one or two final questions. If you were to start over from scratch today, let's say you lost everything that you have built up, your audience, everything, and you wanted to gain a competitive edge and advantage and leverage AI to kind of build things up again, what would you do?
First of all, if that happens, that would suck. That would be terrible.
You
But
have still your knowledge, though. I give you your knowledge. Maybe you can make it more challenging that you don't have your network, all right? But you
yeah.
have your knowledge.
Yeah, I would personally start with creating my 2-week plan. That would be the first step. And I would go into ChatGPT and I would have, again, everything about me. Who is the people that I'm trying to attract? And for me, honestly, it's kind of more exciting doing it from scratch because now I get to really just hyper focus on those people and attract them to me. So that's perfect for me. So I would focus on that, and then I would help brainstorm a 2-week content structure that can help me with whatever's my goal. So my goal probably is growth and impressions at that point. So by using ChatGPT to help me develop this plan, it frees some time for the networking aspect of going and commenting on people's things that I like, that I want them to follow me, that I want to follow them, and then also building my audience and people that comment on my things, making sure that I go follow them back, go like their stuff, DMs, hypercharge that with, again, speaking on spaces, I'm never not going to say that. Or if you're on Instagram doing live content, partnering with other creators in your space. And because I would do that a lot, we would do videos together, we would collaborate on captions, we would do lives together. So I think collaboration is a key tip for me on growing from scratch. You don't have to have thousands of followers for someone to want to collaborate with you. You have to be an authentic person that is not a transactional, right? It's not about you taking, it's about you being able to give both ways. And you might not have the followers, but if you have good knowledge, if you're a good person, if you are passionate and obsessed with what you do, I can see you building relationships with a lot of other people. So yeah, using ChatGPT to help me develop a structure and also not just keep running that over and over, analyzing what's working, what's not working, so I can focus on those things that are actually bringing me the goal that I wanted, which surely growth at that point. And as I grow as a creator, I would modify my prompts and I would modify what I'm doing and also modifying the details that I had given about me. So the output is related to how my trajectory is going, how my content might be transforming, right? And yeah, I would say the networking part and finding podcasts, finding spaces, collaborating, those are the consistents that I will always continue to do.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think it's great. If whatever you do, you need to build up that network and the relationships in your space, and start keep doing that. And the last part was what you think about the future of AI, because you've been in the space for a little while now and been in an early stage startup even. So what do you think about this? Where things might be headed?
Well, I'm okay. Where are things headed? Would this be for creators and in what sense? Let's niche it down.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have a lot of things that are happening right now that it's exciting, and like I mean, for example, we saw Mark Zuckerberg with Lex Friedman. They are doing this, right? They're basically cloning themselves, and they're having themselves in a virtual world, kind of, and having maybe we can have this interview in the future, right? It's our clone. I mean,
Mm,
that
yeah.
maybe is more accessible, and that's kind of already happening, but. Yeah, it would be made for creators, but just in a overall sense, what you are thinking, what's gonna happen with this, that doesn't only need to be for creators.
Yeah, so I think there's both sides of it, right? There's the very positive sides, which is enhancing your productivity and
Yeah.
helping you build an even greater business and be an even greater solopreneur without having to really hire a team until you're really at that point where you have to. And I think that's great. I think there's a big opportunity for you to be authentic. I think authentic content, especially in X, content that is real, that is relatable, that is your story. And it might be, you can still recommend tools, but you can mix it in with your personal story, right? Like, oh, I wanted to be a software engineer. College was too expensive and I didn't have enough money. I went into a boot camp and maybe that boot camp sucked and you kind of just infuse it with your own personal story. But I found this tool and it changed my life. I became a software engineer within 6 months after. And obviously, maybe there's like where it goes into show more. And then you have the tool and so I think mixing advice with personal stories are going to be even more powerful because it's something that this technology will never be able to do. It will never be able to replace personal stories, right? ChatGPT doesn't have a personal stories. You might be able to make it. And I actually had someone who said, "Oh, look, this prompt, the story still look very inauthentic," which is what I told them. Still have to edit that, right? Like, so I think the power of personal stories are going to have a bigger opportunity space when everyone's content looks the same. And then I think taking advantage of, like you said, so right now there are companies that can create an AI clone of you and you can just input what type of content you want it to do and it looks like it's you. There is technology out there that can replicate your voice. And that is as positive as negative as you can imagine, right? It can go both ways. So I think, we will be facing more challenges to authenticate what is real versus what is not. I think there will also be a lot of opportunities for companies that can do that as well. But I think in terms of content, the one thing that we're going to see is a lot of unoriginal content, a lot of robotic content. Everything will look the same because if you did it and you got millions of views, then probably a lot of people are going to be trying to replicate that success. So the biggest opportunity you will have is with original content, showing your personality and really connecting with your audience in a deeper level.
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna go viral with like the robotic content as much though, or like reaching your people. And yeah, you mentioned these tools. I think Hey Gen is great. I mean, I've seen people using it for courses. I don't like watching that as much. It's too like the hand movement are a little bit strange. I'm sure that's gonna get better. Same. The 11 Labs with the voice, I think is interesting. I saw Eric Sue and Neil Patel. They're already using that for marketing school, which is really interesting. They're translating to Spanish. They don't speak Spanish, but they're reaching the Spanish audience because they have a Neil has a pretty big following in the Latin countries and stuff like that. So I think that is going
Yes.
to be pretty big. And also when YouTube and platforms like that natively integrate that, because then more people are going to stay on the platform. Like this session is in English, right? But imagine we get someone from Venezuela or Colombia or something, they want to check it out. They're probably gonna leave because they might not understand it, and the captions are not the same connection. So I think that is gonna happen pretty soon. I think when these platforms integrate that, because it's gonna mean more revenue for them, more revenue for the creators, hopefully. So I'm pretty excited about it. But where do you want people to connect with you? I am sure might be the best place, right, Gigi?
Yeah, so I'm very big on X. Definitely connect with me there. If you are looking forward to seeing more personal type of stories, I would say connect with me on Instagram. I will be active as much as I can consistently, and then I will be dormant for a little bit. I have a pattern, and I've analyzed it. I have not fixed it yet, but yeah, on Instagram I do share a lot more tech, visual content, or more of my personal life, and then on X you will find the place that I think you'll get the most value out of me. So definitely connect with me on X.
Yeah, that's awesome. Go follow Gigi. I leave the links in the description. If you have any takeaways from this session, Gigi has shared so much great value. Leave it in the comments. Be sure to subscribe to the channel for more. Like the video if you want more like this. And I'll see you in the next one. Ciao for now.